Welcome back to Church and State with Dave Pello. We're on the beautiful sunny Redcliffe Beach and I'm talking with Judy Taylor about the epidemic of assisted suicide in Australia. Judy, tell me about your experience with the legal system, with the coroner.
Well, it was the coroner, the police, the Attorney General. I started off with the police. As I said before, it took 2 years before I could even think straight on this. I went back to our local police. I went back to the detective who I'd spoken to at the time, and I said to him, can you please tell me now, my mind might be a little bit more clear that I can understand what you're saying, why was nothing ever done about this? Why was there not an investigation? No one called me, no one came round, it's just a shrug. Oh well. And he said to me, well, it is really. It happened overseas. It's the internet. And I pointed out to him that there had been other cases, and I know of another young man who lives down in my neck of the woods who was 25, Joe Waterman, and that happened in Melbourne. I said nothing was done about that either. And then this detective said, oh, well, it's the internet. You know, we can't control what people find on the internet. And so, no, we're not going to do anything about it. And I was trying to put words into his mouth, but he was very guarded about it. And I said to him, so what you're saying to me is that it's because it's Exit International, it's just a whole lot of feisty old people killing themselves that we can't do anything about it. He said, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, okay, nothing's going to happen there. Back at the coroner's, that took 4.5 years. So, yeah, I've only just got this just recently. The coroner sent me a letter from the coroner's solicitor, and that was in reply to the concerns that I'd raised about this being assisted suicide and that they shouldn't be able to help young people. They shouldn't be able to help anybody. And particularly since they're all anonymous, there's no screening, there's no medical care, you're just actually helping people to kill themselves. So they wrote a letter trying to address some of these issues, and in it said, and so it was all about, you know, DFAT and his story, he lived in Germany and what. And it said, it is clear that Exit International, via the Peaceful Pill Handbook and chat forum, played a crucial role in your son's suicide.
The coroner said that?
The coroner's solicitor.
Okay.
If not by planting the seed in the first place, certainly by advising him about suicide methods. Accordingly, there is sufficient evidence to support a finding identifying Exit International as having played a role in your son's death.
Wow.
But in the same letter, and it goes down a bit further down here, in the same letter, it says, Exit International is a well-known international non-profit organisation that advocates legalisation of euthanasia. It is connected to varying degrees with a number of suicides investigated in this jurisdiction, and the coroner is loath to add to the organisation's notoriety.
So what he's saying is that there's a problem, it's a large problem, and if we continue to identify the problem, it will make the problem seem more attractive by the size of its evil.
Yes, or by doing some free advertising for them. So we don't want this to keep on happening, so we just won't mention it. And then in the same paragraph, now this one really threw me. Now, as you know...
Is the coroner political, or is the coroner...
It would seem the coroner is political. I thought they were impartial.
Yeah, I thought they were meant to determine the facts and recommend...
Yes, to see if there was...
justice outcomes.
Anything in the public's interest from this particular death. That is really their role.
Okay.
So in this same paragraph about the coroner is loathed to add to the organisation's notoriety, and as you and your listeners would probably know, down in Victoria, it's before the Parliament now to pass an assisted suicide bill. It says, it is noteworthy that in June 2016, following a year-long inquiry into relevant medico-legal considerations, the Legal and Social Issues Committee of the Victorian Legislative Council delivered its final report into the end-of-life choices. They're writing that on a letter about my son's death, about what's happening politically about changing the law.
It sounds like they're entirely concerned with the political agenda and not the public interest.
It's sort of the implication of that is, while your son did die from assisted suicide, but hey, we're going to change the laws anyway. How else can you interpret that?
That's the socialist state of Victoria. I'm so sorry for you.
I wrote back to the coroner's solicitor and I said, what exactly is your implication of that last comment, which is irrelevant when you're talking about my son's death? That we're going to introduce new laws, so what? Lucas's death doesn't count, really.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it says. So, having had that, a couple of weeks later, I got the official finding. So we have 10 points. So this is all the information I gave them. So really the only point of interest is the last one. It is tolerably clear that Mr. Taylor sought and received information about means of suicide through Exit International, and he did so with ease. Nonetheless, the evidence does not allow me to conclude that without information from this source, Mr. Taylor would not otherwise have completed suicide. So the evidence is gone now. There was plenty of evidence just a couple of weeks before, but it's gone. So it's just a suicide. Nothing to see here.
I think his point supports the definition of assisted suicide. Would he have done it anyway? I don't think that's relevant to the question of assisted suicide.
Well, you'll never ever know that unless you're going to bring the dead back.
And this is a policy problem. This isn't a legal problem. And if it's a legal problem, it's easily solved with policy to change the legislation to shut this kind of death industry down, these people that profit from other people's suffering and misery.
And they're also saying in this, if someone kills themselves, how are we to know? Who influenced them? Were they pressured? Were they coerced? Well, we don't know. They're dead now, so we can't tell. No one's ever going to be convicted.
I think intentions are fairly important in this law, and it's clearly the stated intention of Exit International.
Absolutely it is.
To assist people to suicide.
Absolutely it is.
It's, yeah.
And after that, well, I thought, well, that's it then. They did tell me I could pursue it, go to the Supreme Court for $30,000 a day, or I could just leave it. That's the end of it, they said. We found that's the finding. I wrote to the Attorney General. This is the reply.
George Brandis?
This is from his Chief of Staff. This is the Attorney General of Victoria.
Oh, okay,
sorry.
The State Attorney General.
Yes, State Attorney General, I should have said. This is from his Chief of Staff. Dear Mrs. Taylor, blah, 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 please accept our deepest sympathies. Yes.
Can I accept them?
You have raised concerns about the operation of Exit International. The Attorney General does not have the power to conduct criminal investigations. You may wish to take this to the attention of the local police. In the same letter, in 2006, the Victorian Parliament Legal and Social Committees, the committee, tabled the inquiry. This is a whole paragraph about what the state government intends to do with its new bill. This is in the same letter about the death of my son. So if you've got a problem, go to the police. But let me tell you about what we'll be doing. We're going to be passing this law about assisted suicide.
What had you asked the Attorney General to do?
I wanted them to review the coroner's decision, that I've made it very clear what's going on, and that we seem to be making an effort just to turn a blind eye to it.
So were you hoping that the policy environment in which the coroner felt that this wasn't important could be adjusted by the current Labor government? I
guess so. What I was really attempting was that somebody, the Attorney General, the coroner, somebody would actually say, hey, I didn't know this was going on. Now, even though we've got something here going on about the terminally ill, that isn't it. And how come we've allowed that to happen?
Yeah.
And actually, it's been happening for like 20 years.
That's right. And this is why we're doing this episode. This isn't something they don't know about.
They know all about it.
They know all about it.
They're just turning a very blind eye to it.
And I don't want to compare or contrast the value of a young, fit person's life versus an old, sick person's life, because every life is precious and worth defending at every stage. That should be our national policy. But we've got young, fit people who are being assisted to an early grave and having their sicknesses and everything else like that not treated, but ending their life. That's not solving their problem.
No.
That's giving them the ultimate unsolvable problem, the final problem. And this is not just. This is not justice. This is not a civilized, evolved, mature society. This is barbarism.
And people have said to me, yes, but don't you understand that once we legalise it, this sort of thing won't happen? You know, people like Lucas won't be they won't be getting onto Exit International's website. And I say to them, are you for real? Of course they will be.
That's
even more so.
There'll be 20 of them out there competing for the profits.
Yes, this will strengthen Exit International's position, because already you've made it that, yes, you can actually suicide if you feel like it. So his business will be flourishing under this.
Yeah, when it's legalised, his business and another dozen.
Yeah.
It won't be made safer or legaler. It will proliferate.
It will proliferate, and I mean, and this is what I've asked all the politicians. I've sent them all letters. I've explained my story. I had one reply. I've sent 40 letters, one reply.
Yeah.
And I've asked them all the same question. Will any new law be robust enough to take on Exit International?
Yeah. Guys, we need to do something about this. If you live in Victoria, I want you to sign the petition beneath the videos on this website, and we're going to send your protest to the Victorian government and other interested bodies, and we're going to let them know that this is an election issue for you. You do not want life to be a secondary consideration in the coming elections that are coming up, but this law must not pass. So we need to write letters. Petitions are one thing, polls are another thing, but the people who are looking for your vote at the next election will take a written letter from you very seriously. So please contact your local Member of Parliament in Victoria and let them know that you will not be voting for them. It will be a deal breaker if they support this coming legislation. We must not allow life to be devalued. We must not allow the professional support of murder in this country. And at no stage and for any reason is it okay to kill anybody or help them kill themselves. We need to show compassion by helping people and by treating their sicknesses, not by ending their lives. That is the worst kind of compassion ever. It is cruel and it's evil. And thank you for watching. Judy, thank you so much for your part in this fight. I'm so sorry that it cost you so much to bring it to our awareness, and wish you all the peace and blessings.
Thank you.